Okay, hold on, time out. Why was it sounding like that? Hold on one second. Shit. And it's broadcasting, of course. Okay, hold on. Let me just
All good,
fuck
bro.
it. Fuck it. Let's just play it. Oh, I know why. Okay. I gotta just mute your screen for a second. That's what it is. All right.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Yeah, there we got it. I'm gonna keep that too, like that raw, uncut gem that everybody must listen to. You know what I mean?
Oh, me saying that's so fucking cool or what?
I don't think I recorded that part, but the whole me saying, "Wait, why is this not working?" Wait, I want everybody to hear that right there. What's up, man? So we got the micro merchant on today. Shout out to you for being on the podcast. This is Creators Edition number 6, and man, you do all of the Giantess art. You do the video edits, and you're pretty heavily indulged in it. And man, I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. What's going on with you?
Thank you. Not a whole lot. I'm finally back home after like a 2-month long hiatus. I'm finally making content again after a 2-month long hiatus from doing stuff, just because I had other parts of my life that took extreme priority. You know, when you have your childhood dream in your hands, do you chase it, or do you just kind of let it slip and pay half attention to it? That was, kind of my thought process on why I took a hiatus for a little bit. But I'm back and
I'm
I
back.
feel good.
I'm back and I feel good. So as far as like your childhood dream, is this it? Like creating art?
No,
What is
no,
it?
it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like this kind of stuff has been embedded in my brain since I can even remember. I saw like the ending of Dude, Where's My Car? And there's the super hot giant alien at the end of it. I'm just like, oh, it's that. That's my thing. That's it right there.
No.
But yeah, no, I mean, at a certain point last year, I just was kind of like, I maybe I should find a way to make money off of this instead of spending money on content. And also spending money on content, I'm not really always super like thrilled about. And I just wanted to see what I wanted to see, so I started making what I wanted to see.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, spending money on content, man. I support it. Obviously, like I
Yeah,
have.
of course. Like, how else do you get the awesome models that we have around if you don't spend money on content?
Absolutely, absolutely. However, like I understand that, from a economic standpoint, it could get a little expensive, especially if you have a whole handful or 5 or 10 handfuls of content creators that you really enjoy. Like you do actually got to pick and choose. People budget, what they can spend on and afford for the most part. And, a lot of people, they'll say, hey, should I have Hulu, Netflix, or HBO Max? One of those services. And
You should
you
have
know,
a friend sign in is what you should have.
yeah. So, and as far as, like the money you spend on content creators, I get it. Like you gotta like pick and choose which ones you want to, constantly spend the money on it and constantly, tune into the
Yeah.
ones that really entertain you the most. So I think that just comes into play. Like you got to put those thoughts into perspective.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is also, I was taught that you can't afford something unless you can buy it 2 or 3 times. After like your normal expenses are handled, so like your car payment, your rent, your gas bill, like after that stuff is handled and you have money left over, can you afford said thing 3 times? If you can't, don't spend money on it. If you can buy, if you can technically buy three 30-minute customs, then sure,
Hmm.
go ahead and do it. But make sure you're not ending up in a rut. Um, not to
Right.
knock not to knock dudes that are into financial domination. Just make sure you still have a house or a roof under over your head. You know.
Absolutely.
But then
Absolutely.
give your wallet to said dominatrix because she deserves it more.
Are you into dominatrix?
No, but my girlfriend's a dominatrix, and I think that's awesome.
That is awesome. That is very awesome. And I think that it is very interesting too. But I like you said, like I hope that the guys who are into it, they're most
I hope
definitely
they're being
keeping it.
smart. I hope
Yeah.
they're being smart because at the end of the day, it is a fantasy that you are paying money to live out. Just
Yeah.
make sure you're not ruining your life over it, I guess. But hey, to each their own. Do what you do. I'm ruining my life by going out on the not ruining my life. It's actually going very well, but uh, when you're out on the road for months at a time as a freshly not DIY band, you only eat so very often. You eat like maybe one good ass meal every day, and you don't sleep a lot. But hey, I wouldn't trade it for the world. So it's a
Yeah.
give and take. Everything is a give and take.
For sure, most definitely, man. And I could relate to being on the road and really just not eating a lot and just kind of focusing on the task at hand.
Man, it's always truck stop food. We stop at so many loves, bro. We stop at so many loves along the way.
So
Oh,
do
it's
you guys
rough, man.
you guys have like a trailer you travel around with all of your band equipment and what have you?
No, we just have a like a decommission, or not decommission, but like an old airport shuttle bus type thing. It's
Mhm.
like a big E450,
Yeah.
um, and all of our equipment fits into the back real snugly, which is awesome, especially considering there's 7 of us or sometimes 8 of us in that thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're a large band,
You got to take
to
turns driving.
say the
I mean,
least.
take turns driving, probably, huh?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like 4 or 5 of us swap out on driving duties.
Oh my God, who could push the furthest out of the band?
Um, Surprisingly, our singer, which like always the thing is with singers is that they're prima donnas or whatever, they're divas. But when we were driving home from our last tour, we came from our last show was in Austin, Texas, and we have to drive back to Atlanta. And Buddy knocked out like 7 hours. I don't
Oh,
know how
damn.
he did that. It was crazy.
Man, it's like driving the truck, man, the big rig, man. Like I'll push for 7 hours straight for sure.
Go psycho mode on that thing. It's awesome. We call it psycho driving whenever we drive through the night for a long time.
Hmm.
That's what we call it. So because sometimes we have you got to get from Arizona to Anaheim, California in a day. Are you gonna make it? Well, you better leave at night and get
Hmm.
there in the morning.
Yeah, for sure. Although that's not too far of a drive. I probably what like 5 hours, 6 hours tops.
Something like that. Sometimes these venues just want you there so dang early that
Uh,
you have to leave after the gig the night before. I think like the worst one we had was probably Atlanta to DFW.
Now, what is the band name?
Um, we are. I'm actually not supposed to link it. I talked to my manager about it, and I'm like, "Am I allowed to
Um,
like talk about this?" I've
mhm.
told a few people, but it's mostly guys that like I know personally.
Right, right,
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to link it. I was strictly told not to. But
right. Yeah.
we're a crazy metal band. Another Giantess creator is actually a big fan of ours, and he goes to our Philly shows a lot. But in the DMs, I'll tell you why not.
For
But
sure, for sure, for sure. That's that's surprising. Like that, the manager and PR people, they rather you not link the two because I feel like like with the Giantess art, it's something that is a niche and probably just like metal music. It's
oh,
very.
it is. They're both niche markets. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
It's just I and one other bandmate have been in the videos before, and I don't
Mhm.
really feel like linking the two just yet.
Yeah.
Uh, like we even at like it went up to our label, and I asked them like, can I keep making jokes about it at least and like mention it to like people in passing? And they're like, yeah, just don't like explicitly link it
Yeah.
yet.
Right. Hey, man, they know what they're doing though. So I mean,
I
respectable. So
every time we do exactly as they say, it works out in spades. So I will not question them this time.
yeah, I feel it. Well, speaking about the Giantess art and what have you, what do we have here on the screen today?
This is my friend that goes by Violet. She, for whatever reason, ended up being one of my most popular people to have on here. So I figured while we chat, I work on a simple little video of Violet stepping on a dude that I'm going to edit in about right in this area. And I'm
Wow.
going to take everyone kind of through the start and the finish of one of my clips, save for the what is it? The audio editing side of things, just because of the setup we have right now, it'll feed back a lot. But like the general like stomp to squish to blood smear to the whole thing, making it look as realistic as possible in a what is this, like a 10-second clip, 7-second clip, something like that. And if I finish it really fast, which I might, I have another one just kind of queued up, ready to go.
Sweet. Yeah. Heck yeah, brother. Man, shout out to the micro merchant about to walk us through this process on how he adds people into the realm of the Giantess. Shout out to him.
Just for ease, you can totally just call me Dan. That's my first name. It's
All
a
right.
little easy. Like to just call me Dan. That's fine. You can switch between the two. Totally up to you. I got no
I
problem with calling me Dan.
Dan the yeah, I know everybody calls you that, right? Dan the
Yep.
man.
Everyone calls me Dan. My dad started it when I was a kid, and it has not left me since.
Dan the man. There's a bartender here in Vegas that me and Mama Goodz we call Dan the man, and
Dan
man,
the man.
oh, he will get you jacked up in the bar if you drink, man. Good luck.
So
Telling
in this, what I was gonna say real quick is I have like everything loaded up here, and this is After Effects. People always ask me what I use to make my videos. Currently, it's After Effects. I might switch over to DaVinci Resolve, which will literally just make, as far as my understanding is so far, it'll combine all of the programs that I currently use, which
you.
is After Effects and Premiere, which are down here in the bottom, and hopefully we'll just make my whole process a lot easier to do. I know that's what Nike MD uses, I'm pretty sure, in his video when he does video edits.
Mm-hmm.
So if it can make my process easier and it's free, I think I'm going to go for it, because I pay for a student membership with Adobe, which is the entire Adobe suite, which is really cool, but none of us are students anymore, and that's going to expire at some point. So I might as well just get ahead of the curve and not have to spend a whole week learning something in a rush.
Absolutely. Yeah. DaVinci Resolve. So that's a free
DaVinci
software?
Resolve is free. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
It is
that is
free.
crazy.
It is a huge, like, powerful ass program for free. There's a $200 version that adds in some extra like stuff if you were doing this very professionally, like Hollywood level stuff. Like it's called DaVinci Resolve like Studio or something like that, and it's got a couple extra added features that I don't think I'd need really,
Right,
but
right.
it's cool. It's neat.
So what's
So,
your first step
go ahead.
usually?
Pardon?
So what's your first step usually on these edits? Like, so obviously you probably get the video first.
Yeah, I get the video first. So this screen right here shows this. This is the original clip before I trimmed it down, and like in this black area right here, that's stuff I cut out, and then the white area here is what's getting used. Because
Mhm.
I set up the camera and then I was walking around, and you hear my boots like clinking around, and also me talking. So I try to cut out all of that stuff and
Yeah,
start it like right after I say like action or something of the sort, and
right.
then right before I say good take or something like that, or I give like feedback on it, I always try to leave like a breath or two before I say anything because of that.
Hmm.
Um, don't know what happened there, but that's crazy. Um, that's wild. Good thing that's not in the video. And so then after I get that trimmed, I drop it in here into the actual like composition area. And from there, I'll go back into my files and I'll find green screen material, which I have two things selected here. This is from my buddy Colossal Collages, who also is on Instagram and Twitter. Shouts out Colossal Collages. He's the reason I do this in the first place. That's my boy.
Shout out
Um,
Colossal Collages.
that's the guy right there. If there's someone, if he would be down to do a podcast with you, I bet he has a lot of a lot of insight into stuff, because I think he also does video editing professionally. Like he edits like commercials and shit, which is really cool.
That is
Um,
really cool.
yeah, so it's probably like stuff I'm not sure like to what level, but I know I've gotten like some digital commission work before where I will change the color of someone's shirt. You know, shit you wouldn't even notice in
Right.
like a commercial. It's like, hey, like, I don't want that guy's shirt to be yellow. I want it to be blue. I know how I can just do that. And I've helped with like music videos and stuff before for other bands I know. But so he provided me this whole little reel of just assorted tiny people that are already cut out. So I can take the first frame of this guy right here. Figured he might be a good one, and then like the last frame or something.
The first
Yeah.
victim.
So what's funny with see, boom, then he gets plopped in right there. You resize him a little bit to actually, you know, be small. And like my namesake suggests, I usually make these dudes just abysmally small, to the point where sometimes my editing doesn't even take that long, because I can just make a guy ridiculously tiny and you won't even notice if there's anything going on with how he functions or how he moves weird or something like that, because this guy is from Grand Theft Auto 5. This dude right
What?
here, he is from Grand Theft Auto 5. So Colossal told me, so that's what he does too. Colossal told me he takes characters from Grand Theft Auto 5, has a green screen mod on his PC for it, and you put them in front of green screens, and you can animate them. There's like a little drop down menu that comes in a lot of mod packs for Grand Theft Auto where you can just animate characters to do whatever. Because Grand Theft Auto 5 already has like a movie function where you can like make like short films within Grand Theft Auto 5 without mods. So guys were like, okay, well, what if we did that with green screen and we like made it way more in depth and way crazier? And there's a lot of short films on YouTube where people have done like what I would assume is the impossible with Grand Theft Auto 5. It's really cool. So I might use this guy, but if I don't decide to use Colossal Collage's material, I have my own from Grand Theft Auto 5, and you can see like this is like the player from the actual game.
Yeah.
It's got the little time thing in there. I know it's blocked by your logo right now, but boom,
Boom.
boom, and I just have him doing a whole bunch of different stuff, different poses and everything, and it all lasts about 15 seconds because I have ways to cycle it and like make it repeat itself. So I did an entire 5-minute short film just with this specific character and all of these poses I made for him. And
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it. I'm still really proud of it. It's crazy. Sorry, I will talk a lot.
No, please,
Interrupt
please.
me.
Yeah.
Interrupt me if you need to.
No, I'm listening. Like one of my favorite thing about these creators editions is that I'm actually sitting here intrigued and learning my darn self. Now, I don't have any interest in creating Giantess art myself, but just like watching how it's done is fascinating, and I almost get like sucked into the experience rather, like, and I'm almost like thinking like what that scenario would actually be like, you know what I mean?
No, that's what's really fun about it. It's weird, like having been working on this kind of stuff for so long. Like, part of me is like, man, do I even still like this? Because like you're just exposed to it so often.
Yeah.
But then I get like that was my thought process for the last 2 months when I was on the road and thinking about all the work I had to do when I got back home and editing new stuff. And I'm like, man, that's so daunting. I don't even know if I care about this anymore. And then I'm like, well, I'm only home for like 10 days.
Right.
And I need to put it simply, I need to make money. And this was a very easy and fun, admittedly very fun way for me to create content for people and to create a nice little stream of income for myself.
Yeah.
And I get to increase my knowledge in an area that I otherwise would not have touched otherwise, with like, special effects editing, figuring out video game modding tools, and learning how cameras work. So it's also stuff that like I wouldn't have messed around with otherwise. So
Right.
it's actually kind of cool that I get to make this stuff. And then once I got back home here in Atlanta and I started working on this stuff again, I'm like, you know what? I do like this stuff. Like, this is fun. This is actually pretty entertaining. So,
Shout out to Atlanta. I drove through Atlanta on Monday.
oh, really? No way.
Yep. Yep. I drove through Atlanta to Birmingham, Alabama.
I love that little drive. It's a nice drive. Were you doing it
Yeah.
for work or what?
Yeah. Driving the big rig.
Heard, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was raining like a mug though, man. I was like, dang, it was coming down for a second.
Yeah, I know the weather out here gets like kind of weird sometimes. I mean, not as weird as like Florida or anything, but man, after I was on a bus for 2 months with no AC, I'll take anything. Especially like after driving through Texas with no AC.
No AC, man. You
No,
guys are thugging it out.
it is brutal.
Goodness gracious, yeah, that humidity is just next level.
Dude, it was terrible. So what I real quick, what I just did there is so I cropped out this player right here, and then I cropped out the top half of it, and then I use key light over here to remove the green screen. You click the dropper and gone.
Just like that.
Just like that. And sometimes I'll like mess with this little tool, screen gain. There's a lot of stuff in After Effects. So I'm like, if someone asks me like, what does that do? I'm like, I don't know, but this is the result. This is what it looks like when it's done. Isn't that cool? And I don't have to explain it any further beyond that. Like a lot of this stuff was me opening up this big, huge program and just being like, I wonder what that button does. And just figuring it out from there.
That's what it always is. And I feel like our generation, we have all these tools at hand. And a lot of times people will say, I don't know how to use that. Well, guess what? None of us did when we first opened up.
No one does.
Like Fruity Loops, man.
You just start learning. You just start pressing buttons, and hopefully something cool happens.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've ever tinkered around with Fruity Loops, but I got pretty good at Fruity Loops at one point, and a lot of people would say, "Man, how do you make beats on Fruity Loops?" And I'm just like, honestly, I don't know. I opened it and just figured it out, and it's probably even easier today because there's so many YouTube tutorials out there that you could just type in how to use Fruity Loops, and there's probably like 100,000 videos on how to use Fruity Loops at this point.
My brother got really, really good at using Fruity Loops at one point. I'm actually technically using his computer a little bit, and I have like some of his old music files on here somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for a while, he wanted to be a producer. Then he wanted to be a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Now he loves Jesus. So
that's Jesus, man.
That's his thing now. He's in a ministry college to learn to become a praise team leader or a pastor.
That's what's up. Shout out to him.
Shouts out my brother. He'll never know I do this.
Yeah. Oh, so is this like a secret to the fam?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I feel you.
They don't really have any need to know. They know I have a Patreon and they know I do graphic design work. That's what I do. And then when they ask like, oh, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, you ever see like a guy's shirt and it's like yellow on TV? I did that. And they're like, oh, cool. And they don't ask questions beyond that.
Yeah, because they have no idea, like, what that means. They're like, oh, okay, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, my parents won't ask questions if I get $1,000 commission. They're not going to ask any questions. I'm like, I just made $1,000 today. Like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool. They don't need to know anything beyond that. They don't ask. They certainly don't ask.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Like as far as the podcast goes, I really don't promote it like on my personal pages like that, but it's kind of getting to the point where I'm like, I really. What was that?
Do you think it'd be helpful to do that?
I don't know. Like I started being more open about the podcast on my personal page. However, just because a lot of people are starting to follow it that know me from the podcast, so I'm just like whatever. But I do have a lot of family on my personal page as well, and people from the past, and that was one of the reasons why I just didn't really talk about it much on my personal page. Was just like, why would I? You know, it's just like it's not my demographic or my target
Mhm.
audience. So why would I post it in stories and even talk about it really? But now that more people are following it from the podcast, I'm like, whatever. And
Some
a lot
light
of
advertising on it, kind of thing.
yeah, and as far as like family goes, like I I don't really communicate with a whole lot of my family, just like my immediates, my sister, brother, mother, stuff like that. And they know about it, so it's just like whatever. But as far as
I
like
mean,
my other family goes, man, I could care less what people think at the
yeah,
end of the day. You know what I mean? So it's really not a big deal to me. So people are always going to talk and have crazy things to say and gossip no matter what. So that's kind of what it is for me. I think I'm at the point where I'm like, whatever. Like I'll talk about it a little more. Like I've even put the IG handle in my personal IG's name now, the creator of the POF pod or what have you, and I got the tag in there. So, but I get it, like not really feeling the need to tell everybody. Like, I get that for real.
if it's not, if it doesn't, if they're not gonna, I don't know. I kind of see it as like if they're not gonna support the page, then they don't really need to know about it because I already have support elsewhere with it.
Yeah.
I've had like a few people like because like I said, I'll joke about it here and there. Like my band has a Discord chat, and I'll joke about it here and there. But I also have to keep in mind that when I'm in the public eye in that sense, that I can't really like to say for instance one of our fans is like 15,
Hmm.
14, right? So now I feel like I don't like making jokes about the thing I do as
Yeah.
much, just because I'm like I don't need like a kid to go digging for something I do and like find my name attached to something, and then I look like the freakazoid for having like exposed someone's kid to something like this.
Yeah. I
Which
feel
like,
you.
again, it's just feet, but like like every time someone like even looks a little too young, like they'll come in my DMs and try to order a custom, and I've asked them from like, dog, how old are you? And they're like, oh, I'm anything under 18. I'm like, I don't say a thing back. They are blocked like immediately. I don't know. Stuff like
There's
that
a
weirds me out, man. And I also get like weirded out by like I was talking about this on a live stream the other day.
mhm.
Um, I don't usually like working with models that are under 21 for
Mm.
I don't know. There's just something about it that like kind of bugs me. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's because I'm on a moral high horse or something like that,
Nah, man,
but
that's the thing.
it I
I
that's just the
get it.
weird.
I get it, man. Trust me, I
Yeah,
do. I totally get it, man. And I don't know, man. Like it's okay to do, but there is a like a I don't
there's like
know.
a thing in my head that's saying like, no, don't do that.
I feel you on that. Like I don't think I've had anybody under 21 on the podcast.
I don't think you have either.
Yeah, I don't think that I have, but I know there's some models out there that like there was a couple that I think might have been like 20 or maybe even 19, and but they had like decent followings, and I could see they've been doing their thing and everything. I'm like,
Mhm.
like maybe I'll have them on a podcast or reach out. But most of the times you can immediately tell the difference between somebody who is mature enough to be involved with a collaboration versus who isn't, because they'll immediately not recognize the benefits of networking with other platforms that are there to big up each other, because they'll
Oh
say
yeah.
something like, oh, are you going to pay me to do that? Like, well, I haven't paid. I don't pay people to be on a podcast. Like this is
No,
a
it's a podcast.
yeah,
What?
exactly. So it's just like, oh my gosh, like I'm
I
I'm just
I
like,
had a on that topic. I had a there's a guy who's a fan of mine, and he'll point me in the direction of models that are looking to get into the giantess thing and like need someone to edit them. or like get them some. It's basically like that's my way of doing shout outs, is like creating an edit for someone and it's a collab post, so like
Yeah.
it shows on both people's feeds, right?
Yeah.
So like that's all fine and good, and I get DMs all the time like, hey, share for share. I'm like, no, I'm not a shout out page. I'm not a shout out page. This is what I do. Like, it's in my bio, bro. Like, please, like, it just, the fact that you're in my DMs right now and asking that means you didn't read my bio and you just see 18.2K and you
Yeah.
think shout out page.
Yeah.
um
Annoying.
so
Very annoying.
but
Yeah.
through Buddy mentioning me to a model that's local to me,
Hmm.
and he's like, well, do you do photo shoots? I'm like, yeah, I'll do some shoots here and there, and if she wants, she can have the content. It's not a big deal. Like, we can just do like a collaborative shoot or something like that. And he's like, okay, cool, I'll tell her to hit you up if she ever makes a page. I'm like, that's great. So she ends up making a page, DMs me and says like, hey, so and so told me to hit you up. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm available these days. Like, just let me know and you want to shoot. And she's like, okay, cool. Are you going to pay me? I'm like, no, you hit me up. You
Oh
hit
my
me up to
gosh.
shoot you, bro. Like, I'm not going to pay you to take time out of my day on your request. Like,
Yeah.
that's what? That's not how it works. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm being a provider for content for you, and you're just saying, um, you should pay me for it. I'm like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
On a brighter note, this guy just got stepped on. That's pretty cool. So just to kind of talk about what I did, this stuff is so automatic to me at this point. I can like do it while I'm making like dinner, if I was able to have this in the kitchen with me. But what I basically do is, like I said, like I make them tiny so you can't really tell if like his coloring doesn't work that well, and you also can't tell that he's from Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the best
Right.
part. That's why I never make them like much bigger than like a toe, because if they were
Mhm.
bigger than that, you'd be able to tell they're not from something. I also sometimes use myself. I have some green screen footage of myself that I use here and there,
Yeah.
but it's only in like a couple different poses, so it's like I can only use it kind of sparingly. And these guys have like so many different actions, but
Now we're gonna have to figure out which one it is so we can find you. It's like the micro
it's
merchant is like,
oh,
where's
it's
Waldo?
obvious which one's me. I think it's pretty obvious. It's the one with a ponytail. You'll find him. He's
Okay.
on there. He's tiny, but he's on there.
Shout out to the
So
micro merchant, man.
shout out to the one human I use in my videos, me.
Mhm.
Uh, so what I did was I found like I have like a crouching animation for this guy. I also put a reflection of him on the floor. I'm probably going to darken that up a bit so it looks more like a shadow, because you can tell when she steps down. This is like stuff I'll pay attention to, like lighting wise. There's like a very, very slight reflection of like her foot on this tile, but it's
Yeah.
very slight. Like, it's not a very reflective surface, in my opinion. Like, it kind of is. Like, you can like see some blue here, but it's very slight.
Right.
So it's mostly just shadow. So what I'll do with this guy's reflection right here, sometimes people will there's a couple creators that are really good at this. This guy Cinematic GTS will do this, and it makes sense to do it because sometimes this happens in real life depending on how your lighting is working.
Right.
What he'll do is he'll have a reflection and also a shadow going a different direction. I'm lazy, so, and I also know how I can make things look really good pretty quickly, and I can get away with it. So what I'll do is, where is it? Color correction. See, being out for 2 months, I forgot where most of this stuff is sitting at.
We're gonna get you back grinding, man, before the tour, man.
See, my goal has been to make 2 clips every day, so then I have like 20 things I can release while I'm out on tour and keep interest going. I have a really big video dropping tomorrow with her name. She goes by Gigi Feet. It's like FXXT. Gianna G Golden Souls on Twitter. I have a big like 5-minute feature with her coming out at some point tomorrow. I need to finish it up today.
Shout out Gigi Feet. Come be on the podcast. I know who you're talking about too. I think I followed her. She never followed me back.
She's a doll. She's great. Her and I got like pretty buddy, just from me being like the first person to like reach out to her and be like, hey, you want to like make a video with me? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then her and I like collaborated on a custom together for somebody.
Yeah.
And it went really well. And then so she's like somewhere over in Europe, so our time schedules are very different. But there was one night I was just up really late, and she messaged me. She's like, "Dude, I have so much energy and ideas for this right now. Let me do this right now. Like, just give me like a quick prompt, and I got you." And in like 20 minutes, she sent me like 6 clips that are like her like taking tiny people out of a box and then like killing them
Oh,
individually. So it rocks, and I'm almost finished with it. It's really really fun.
not
And
real tiny people, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
oh, dude, every time I get deleted on Instagram, it's because of violence, and I write a big ass appeal. I log in to my desktop and appeal it, and I write a big ass paragraph saying, "You would have to be stupid to think these people are real."
Right.
And they give me my account back twice. Now it's worked. It's worked twice. Okay, like I can just sucker Instagram into doing whatever I want, and I also be like, "Hey, you guys are ruining my income. Like that's not cool. Give me my income back. Give me my advertising back."
Or I'm suing.
I could. I bet I could. But you know what's weird is even though Instagram is where I have probably my biggest following, it probably does the least for me in terms of advertising, I think. Ever since I started having a Twitter and being really active on there, that started giving me a lot more. It gave me
Exposure.
a lot more clicks to my website, to my Patreon.
Solid.
It's really great. Deviant Art too. If you can have your stuff on every platform, especially as like a creator in this field, it's
Yeah.
better to just have your stuff everywhere. People ask me like, "Oh, do you think I should make a clips for sale or a mini vids?" I'm like, I think you should make both
Yeah.
because some
You're right.
people will use one and not the other, and you're missing out on a couple sales by only having one. Why would you do that to yourself?
Wise words from a wise man.
I know how this stuff works. It's just a matter if I execute it myself.
Right. Right.
So what
That
I just
that
did is I made this dude's shadow or
mhm.
his reflection more like a shadow by
Okay.
just decreasing the exposure on it over here, and I might just make it a little more extreme so it pops out more and you can tell that he has a shadow.
Yeah.
Like again, like once it's zoomed out, you can't really tell, but the difference in how this guy actually like sits in this space is totally different if you remove the shadow because now he's just kind of like I can even tell, like, it's just kind of like he's floating there and he's on top of the footage and he's not in the footage. And if you're like one of my quote unquote disciples or something on Instagram and you started making edits because of me, this is why your edits don't look good because you don't add a shadow. You need to add a shadow to your people. Otherwise, they are just floating on top of footage and it looks goofy. That
Hey,
is
look,
like it's the number one thing that every time someone's like, "Hey, I started making edits because of you. Can you give me some pointers on this?"
shadows.
I'm like, dude, shadows, reflections, something to like cement this guy in space. Like you can even just barely see his shadow there, but it makes a world of difference. Now it's not there, now it's there. Now it's not there, now it's there. It makes a huge difference if the guy is actually believable being there and like existing in this area. Because
Right.
otherwise, then you just have weird looking footage.
Right.
And then one last thing I'll do. I already did this earlier when I was just talking. My roommate also knows how to work with Adobe pretty well because this is her student thing. So she taught me how to use curves really well, which is like I still don't really totally get it, but she made me a couple of like curve packs that I can use for
Mhm.
making people's lighting look
Yeah.
good. So this guy right here, before he looked like that, and he was just a little too bright. So I added I have an interior curve, which just darkens him up a little bit and makes it look like he's inside the building.
Huh.
But what I'm gonna do before he gets stepped on is because like when you're about to step on something, a shadow will go over it from your foot, right?
Yeah.
So I can do that with keyframes and exposure, just kind of the same way I gave that guy a shadow. So I'll find the frame where he's gone. He's not there anymore, right? And
Yeah.
I'll click on the exposure I'll click on this little clock right here to turn on keyframes for exposure, and then I will make that like -5, and he'll look just like he's inside of a dark room or something like that, right? but
Yeah.
I'll reel it back like a couple frames and then put it to 0. And 5 might be too extreme, but then I adjust from there. So then as it goes from 0 right here, the rest of his clip, he'll be at 0 and he'll be perfectly lit. But this frame is when it starts to have him start getting like about to be stepped on.
Right.
So
Right.
what I'll do from here is like I said, like that's just a little too dark for how much like there's barely any shadow landing on him. So I'll go back to this -5 one and I'll probably do like -2.5 or something. So then
See.
as the foot comes down, the shadow gets a little darker. And even still, I think that's too much, so I'll do like -2. It's really, really small stuff that like just adds a slight bit of realism to something
Right.
that is impossible otherwise. And that's how I ended up doing an edit. And if I were to add a little blood stain on it, I have a folder for blood right here. And I'll
Nice.
throw one of these in. So first I'll find like where he was at originally. I'll drag that in. And if you have like a blood PNG or something like that, there's like options over here that you can get rid of that stuff pretty easily.
Nice.
Put a 3D layer on that so you can like make it seem like it's on the floor. That's another thing I do a lot is I'll use the 3D layer instead of just like flipping a guy upside down and
Yeah.
making that shadow. I'll make it like look like it's like, you know, stretching across the floor or something like that. Like it's actually part of the environment. Because
Right.
otherwise you just have stuff that doesn't look like it belongs. And then you figure how much blood is in the human body.
Yeah.
Ice-T asked that question once. And he says then he asks, "Do you want to see it, motherfucker?" And
Legendary.
fucking hilarious song. I can't believe that man covered a Suicidal Tendencies track. That is so funny.
Did he really?
Yeah, he covered Institutionalized, and it's called Institutionalized like 2019 or something like that, or 2016, whatever year he put that out. And it's just like this whole thing about how everyone around him is pissing him off and making him go crazy. It's so
What?
funny. So with the blood stain, that'll just appear when her foot lifts up. So I'll find the frame where her foot decides to leave.
Yeah.
I'll just scrub through frame by frame. So technically it would be like right there. So this is where I'll have the blood stain like first show up. And because it's put on this darken thing right here, I actually might do multiply, maybe. Because darken will eliminate some stuff.
Yeah.
It's like these little, whatever the hell these are called over here. I don't know. All I know is I use that one a lot. And that's what matters to me. I'll throw a mask on it so then I can like choose where it's going to be. Choose a mask that I can actually see. And you can also put keyframes on masks. So because like the blood won't be over top of her toes, that wouldn't make any sense. You put a mask following the shape of her foot. And it's that easy. This is how you make stuff look good. That's the whole point of this stuff is you want to make it look realistic as possible while still keeping like some kind of like cheeky elements to it.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of it, it's kind of goofy. Like I'm not gonna lie, like this stuff it's a goofy fetish to have, and I have it. I'm calling myself out here. It's fine to be goofy.
Do you think that by being somebody who creates these edits, like it's intensified, like how you feel about it?
Sometimes I feel like it has made me not like it.
Oh,
Um, which is which is which is interesting because like, man, I want to be into the thing I'm into, right?
right.
Don't get me wrong, like this is still my shit, but because I interact with sometimes like interacting with people in the community is exhausting. I will
Hmm.
not even sugarcoat it. It is sometimes very, very challenging to like want to be in this community sometimes, just because people will get really, really demanding over
Yeah.
content they haven't paid for. So,
That.
uh, I mean, I like to announce my like comeback. I edited a clip of another gal that I've worked with before, who is also really popular on my page.
Hmm.
So I made a new edit with some old material I hadn't used of her, and someone comments saying like, "Okay, cool, but like, what about the video with Gianna?" I'm like, bro, you're not even on my Patreon. You're not going to see it. Like, what do you care? Like, you're not going to see the video. So I don't know. Like, sometimes it's just, it can get exhausting. Um, don't get me wrong, like that. But it's like that with everything. I mean, it is kind of like having a job
Yeah.
almost, and you just sometimes you're not going to have days where you want to do it, and that's okay. Uh, I star in some of my videos, and man, I get it now. Like, I totally get it. Like, when models like they get a custom in and they're like, oh yeah, I can, I get that done real quick, and then it takes them like a week because sometimes this shit's exhausting to do, man. Like,
Yeah.
it takes time. Like, I'm sure you've seen like Mama Goodz like work on some stuff before. I don't know if she's ever had days where she's just like, man, I don't want to do this today. Like, it's just
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
you just don't want to, but you got to because it's the thing that's bringing money in here and there.
Mhm.
So it, I don't know. I
You
take it in
definitely got.
stride. I try to be
Yeah.
very grateful for this stuff because it's fun and my friends have fun doing it too. So it's an interesting way to hang out. I get to be honest with myself a lot more. That's what I really the thing that I like the most out of having done this is the honesty of myself that I've found
Yeah.
in creating content and being able to talk about it pretty freely in my personal life, save for like family, like we talked about that earlier.
Hmm.
But I mean, everyone I everyone that knows me kind of knows that at the very least I like feet. At the very
Right.
least they know that. Um, and also my girlfriend's what 6 foot 6'1" or something like that. So
Hmm.
I kind of wear it on my sleeve a lot, and it's fun to joke around about. I recently did a podcast with my band um, where I talked about some like our drummer was on it, and he said, "Well, Dan has this page," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. Can I talk about my thing? Can I talk about the thing I do?" And we talked about it for a little bit, and our drummer's like, "Man, I really want to do the sound effects for that too, like when people get eaten and stuff like that." And I
Yeah.
pulled up a clip. I pulled up one of my videos of like I'm like, dude, the sound effects are the coolest part, and I put it right into the microphone. And you sure, and the whole little podcast room just erupted into laughter because there was no context. You just hear like someone getting squished. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's really cool. Like for instance, my friend Violet here. I've known her since like sophomore year of high school, something like that. I'm 20, almost 25 now.
Hmm.
So, and then at a certain point, I'm like, hey, like, do you want to help like step on tiny people? And she's dated dudes with foot fetishes before, so she knows what she's got.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's just kind of neat that I can like be real, and
Yeah.
people don't hate you for it. I get that question a lot in my DMs too. It's like, how do I talk to like I get this a lot, like a lot more than I thought I would. I get a lot of dudes that will ask me, how do I talk to this girl I like about this? I'm like, just talk to them about it. Like, don't be weird. Just like don't act like it's this like super shameful thing that you're into. It's just it's part of who you are,
Yeah.
and that's
Either
fine.
they're gonna like it or not.
Yeah, and if they don't like it, like that's always been a condition for me. Like I like years ago, I went on a Tinder date, and it just kind of came up in conversation that I liked feet, and she's like, "Wait, you'll never touch mine." I'm like, "I can take you home now or later, like totally up to you." Like, like I don't know if you thought that joke was funny, but like, um, it's just not gonna work otherwise. So I don't know. I kind of have a hard line on it. Like, it's part of who I am. Why would I shelter that off from my real life?
Yeah.
Other than management telling me to, but
I didn't
you know,
even know I was into it until like I started like finding more information about it and kind of exploring it. It's been something that I knew existed, but I
mhm.
didn't really like know much about it. Like I was just never exposed to it. And then once I was, I started realizing like, oh, I do like that. I do. And I think like being more evolved to the point that I am now.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's definitely intensified. Like that's why I asked you, like, has it intensified it? I'm like, because from my standpoint, it's most definitely intensified. Like I enjoy seeing that like on my timeline now. Like it's damn near all I want to see on my timeline. It's everything else is just boring to me, you know?
Heard that. I mean, I mean, yeah, it has intensified it a little bit. Um, but it's interesting. Like I went into it like very like ridiculously enthusiastic because I was just making these things on my phone before, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can't believe like I got good at this, and then I started uploading it. Then I upgraded to the bigger software that I had to pay for and everything like that. I never expected at a certain point like I would hit a burnout with it.
Yeah,
I'm actually really surprised that I ever did.
yeah.
I,
That's
I never
that's
I never
natural,
wanted to hit
man.
a burnout with it, but it just kind of happened one day, and
That's natural, man.
well, that happens with everything. You
Everything, bro.
can't always expect it to be like the easiest thing on the planet for you to do. In fact, I remember a point in time where I didn't play music for a whole year. I just graduated from college for music, and I didn't want to play it at all. I didn't want to play anything. I didn't want to play music, period.
Yeah,
And now it's my livelihood, and I'm playing in a band I care about and have wanted to be in since 2018.
yeah,
It's like that with everything. It ebbs and flows.
yeah,
And once I got back in the saddle after taking 2 months off of not making anything at all, it feels like I just started again, and it's fun, and I want to create,
yeah.
and I'm always finding new avenues of creating with this stuff. I mean, it's all generally the same thing. It's usually this. It's usually that. That's fine. That's what
I
people
love
want to
it.
see, and it works, and I know how to do it really well. So why not continue to do this? And
Absolutely, man.
I'm having fun doing it again. I'm getting ideas for videos I want to create. I'm collaborating with other artists on Twitter and doing art shares and shit like that with guys that don't even work in the same medium as me. I'm collaborating soon with doing an art share with this artist on, I will not pronounce this properly, but it's like Guri art. I'm gonna have to ask him how to pronounce it, but he does illustrations. He does like comics and stuff like that. His art is super unique, and he's been supporting my Twitter endeavors since like day one of me being over there. Always retweets my stuff. He subs to the Patreon, and he gets me a lot of traction over there. So he and I just started chatting. I'll send him works in progress and stuff. I'm like, what if we did a art trade? Would that be cool? Like, I know we don't do the same thing really, but we're into the same stuff. And he's like, that'd be
Right.
sick. So I sent him some like reference shots of Violet here actually
Yeah.
to make into a comic. And I'm like, here's the scenario that we thought would be cool. You give me an idea and I'll work on it. And I have these like juices flowing again in my head of how I can create new stuff and have fun with it and share it with people that want to be involved and that also have fun with it. It's fun to kind of live in a fantasy here and there, and this is the most like fantasy side of it because as much as I'd like it to be real, I'll never be that big. That's just
Hmm.
how it is. That's just how it is.
What do you mean you'll never be that big? You mean that small or
That guy,
that guy?
that
Gotcha.
guy. I'll never be that big. I'll never be him.
Maybe. Hey, man, you never know, man. What if
We'll
a
see.
giant just comes out of nowhere one day? You'd be like, oh shit, I manifested this.
I was wrong. I manifested everything in my life up to this point. Maybe I'll manifest this too.
Damn, man. Well,
That's
at least you'll go
that's
out living your fantasy.
that's the idea, right? So this was the clip start to finish. That was that I know I didn't say a lot of like what my process was as I was doing it. Like I said, it's like super automatic for me at this point. I know what needs to go where and how to make it happen. Sometimes I have to do keyframes for when blood shows up. Like if someone like does like a smear, like I was gonna work on I wasn't really sure how long we were gonna go for, but I was gonna work on this one, and she like does like a slide like that, and then I'll have like a blood trail following it, which is always kind of cool. But I did finish the thing I said I was going to finish.
I love it.
I don't do we need to stop right now? Do we have to?
We can go as long as you want. We can go as long as you want.
Cool.
It's up to you, man. It's up to you.
This is I'll be doing the audio editing of this later and like adding like a squish sound effect. And sometimes I add booms and shakes, but I'm so indifferent to booms and shakes that I don't really add them anymore. And it doesn't like increase sales or anything to have
booms and shakes
in a video, where if you were that small and you were just in someone's house, that's not going to happen to you anyway. But if someone was 100 feet tall and walking down a city street, then there might be some earthquakes.
Oh yeah,
context. It's all about context.
Yeah, absolutely. There was just some like jackhammer drilling. I think it might have been like an actual like one of those huge jackhammers that they have on like work trucks or whatever. And they were drilling something behind the house, probably working on the sewer system or something. But man, that thing was rattling the whole house. I was like, goodness gracious. Yeah.
I guess I can work on the other one. So what I do from here is I will add it to like my Adobe Media Encoder, which basically exports everything out of After Effects. And then I transfer my workflow is from After Effects to Premiere, where I do the audio editing, or I'll add in music. Yeah, that's usually the process. The clip will take a second to pop up here. There you go. I called it Violet Crush Simple.
Shout out to Violet again, man.
Shouts out to Violet. She is awesome. She actually might end up moving up here to Georgia at some point, which would be really cool. Having another roommate that would help out with this stuff would be awesome. When I say another roommate, like I do, my other roommate goes by Kat on my page, and she helps out a lot. I was going to edit one of her clips, but they're all very dialogue heavy, so that just takes a little longer for me to work with.
You guys like write out scripts and what have you?
Sometimes we'll usually follow something kind of loose. I find with like scripts, it sometimes can suffocate any creativity on the model's end, because if you're just being there and you're like, following the script and like just kind of roboting your way through it, it can be rewarding, but sometimes I don't see them have a lot of fun with like such a super strict script. Sometimes people need that, which I totally get. There's a couple gals I work with on Twitter that like need something to follow. Otherwise, They just kind of don't really know where to go with it. Because if you're not like in tune with being a giant woman, then it's not going to come naturally to you. But thankfully, a lot of the gals I work with, a lot of my friends anyway, that help me with this stuff, have like just a natural inkling to be very artsy, I guess is a word to use for it. Very, those kind of roll with it.
Just like
Cat's a good example of that.
People.
Sorry?
Just like creative people all around.
Yeah, creative people all around, and they'll have like a little fun with like actually like improving voice lines and stuff like that. So Violet sometimes will need like something to go off of, but she also is pretty good with her dialogue and can follow instructions pretty well and like roll off of something like that. So for this one, sorry?
I love it when the voice has like a reverb to it.
That's always pretty cool. I do that sometimes with like if they're like standing and they're talking to someone on the floor, I'll add like a little bit of reverb to it. It's usually really slight and like something only I really notice, but because I hear a lot of videos where like they'll add like way too much reverb and echo, and you can't even understand what the hell they're saying. So it's just like it's not even worth it to be like that. And it's just like frustrating to even watch the video, because there's either too much reverb or there's too much shakes, like talking about those booms and shakes from earlier.
Yeah. The booms and shakes though, man, those are kind of cool too. But I hear you. Like cool. if it doesn't make sense and it's causing you to lose time, and it's not really making or breaking the content, then shit, I hear you.
Yeah, it's a give and take. It's very contextual. it's very, very contextual. If it serves the video, sure. If I have someone that is ordering a custom is like, I want every footstep to be a boom and a shake, I'll do it. I have a plugin specifically for it. You know what? I'll do it on this video. I'll show how I do the booms and shakes on this video. It's really
Awesome.
easy.
Booms and
So,
shakes.
booms and shakes.
I feel like we should name this episode "Booms and Shakes."
I am so about that. That's funny.
I'll be right back. I gotta go use the restroom.
Do your thing.
Alrighty.
I guess I could narrate a little bit of what I'm doing here. So what I did is, if you were watching, you saw that she didn't have the smear originally, and I got up to that point and it just didn't show up. So I had to change the composition settings. I didn't change them before switching over to the new clip. So you didn't even get the smear. So I had to just change how long the actual video would be in there. Then I can bring the back to Tiny Dude, checking for how the shadows cast, because I think the light is coming directly on top of her feet. So you can kind of see that the shadow is directly under her. So I can be a little more liberal with how I use this shadow. Trim this guy down to actually fit in the clip. As you can see there. And get stepped on right around. Probably going to move him like right here. Also, because of how my camera shot, you can see how it's like blurry here and then it's like in focus here. Whatever lens I was using that day, only like has a very specific, man, I always call it a frame of reference, but that's wrong. Like I said, I'm still learning about cameras and shit. But basically it only keeps like a certain area in focus. Which can be determined by the autofocus on the camera, which is what I did a lot, and then turn on manual focus so it doesn't mess up while it's filming, which I learned the hard way after filming some content once.
Well, so we'll timestamp that part where I use the restroom. Coffee gets the best of Daddy Goodz.
Oh, that's fine. I just started chatting a little bit about like what my process was because I kept working.
Oh, accidental.
Man, hit the sample pad.
I sure did. All right, so what were you doing here?
I was just explaining that there's a point where I like reloaded in the clip because I didn't change the composition settings for it and needed the because like it would like get up to this point right here and then it didn't have the smear. It didn't have that part. So I had to just go back and change the composition settings. And then I started talking about how my camera functions, and like you'll hear me start talking if you were to go back and edit the clip, which I'm sure you usually do anyway.
Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I like to keep it raw, man.
yeah, just I started like chatting a little bit about what I was doing because I started working and I didn't want to just sit here.
Okay,
But
so
it's like
here's the reflection.
it's kind of like the same process more or less. The only thing that's going to change in this go around is, like I said, I'm gonna add in the boons and shakes, and also I'm gonna add like a blood smear for when this guy gets stepped on.
Excellent. And
And then
the booms and shakes are probably so like the shakes is more of like obviously an effect
yeah, the
every.
shakes are in effect. The booms go in later, and I have like a whole where is it? Sound effects. So I got this from Colossal Collages also, this one right here. If you are making your own clips and you want a copy of this file, just ask and I'll give it to you. That's also where I keep like some of my backup music and stuff like that, or my background music.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy is becoming a shadow. But yeah, that's what I'll use for like booms and whatnot.
Excellent. I'm still tripping out that these are GTA 5 characters.
Yeah, no, it's actually it's hilarious, and it's funny how useful they actually can be, because you can animate them to do just about anything, and they're very very helpful.
It's funny, man. You know how we're waiting for GTA 6 to come out and it's been like so many years.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be trippy if like we are GTA 6?
We are right now. Like they just plugged us in.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, surprise, you are
Surprise, the
GTA
game
6.
right now.
And it's funny because like a lot of crazy stuff been happening in the world, very, very GTA like, so it would make sense.
I wouldn't put it past them for pulling one over on us like that. That'd be kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. It's just still Violet here, right?
This is still Violet. It's funny. This entire time I've had this page, I've never made. I always get asked to do flip flop content, and I'm like, well, you can order it as a custom, and I'm just a dick about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love being an asshole to people. I don't know why. It's really fucked up. I need to stop doing that. But I'm like so rude to some people sometimes on here, on my Instagram anyway, because like they're just like a time waster, or they think that they think I'm the people in the video. That's my favorite, is when they think I'm the women in these videos,
Yeah.
and they start messaging me just some like out of pocket horny nonsense, and I'm like at first I was like, well, maybe I can trick them because they're so stupid,
Right.
and maybe I can trick them. Because if you're gonna come into my DMs being a weirdo, like I'm gonna mess with you a little bit, and if that involves your wallet, I'm sorry. So I don't care. Like if you're gonna do that to me, I'll do it back to you. So I have this one guy who will always ask, is like, hey, when are you gonna do like content? Like she puts on her flip flops and she doesn't know he's there. I'm like, eventually, I don't know. Do you want to buy a custom for it? He's like, no, you should just do it. I'm like, man, that makes me want to do it like even less. Like I specifically made this page to make stuff I wanted to see. And then of course, like, customs on top of that are really nice, and getting suggestions is cool, but sometimes people come off a little too demanding of me and my time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to see it so bad, why don't you do something? Why don't you make it? Because that's what I did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is how quick I'm able to do something. Just I made that in a couple seconds. I don't know.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know my screen was my screen audio was on. That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, I just didn't know that I didn't know I was gonna hear that. That's cool. That's great. That's awesome. I thought that was muted.
Yeah. You heard the flip flop.
The flip flop.
Content.
It's funny. One of our most popular songs, the word flip flops is in the title.
He's dropping Easter eggs, y'all. Now you can look him up.
Hey, figure it out. You'll search flip
Metal
flops and you'll get country music. You won't find us, I promise.
metal band flip flop in the title. Google that, y'all.
You'll figure it out. I'm sure you will. It's like something you should. It's like flip flops and then something that's like frowned upon to do involving flip flops.
Okay. Frowned upon. Throwing flip flops.
Close.
Oh,
It's not. It's just not close.
micro merchant trivia. I'm still
So
tripping.
for
You said you were the micro catfish for the custom request.
hey man, I am. I got no shame in that. So what I'm doing here is this will be like me adding in the shake.
Okay.
Get the effects controls out of here. So I have what's called Motion Bro. This is a free program, and Klaus just told me about it. It has a whole folder for shakes, and you can choose like the duration of it up here at the top. If I bring it over more, I can get. You have like what is this? 8 options for duration, and I usually if I'm ever to do it for like a whole 5-minute custom, I will be very specific in the durations I choose and the type of shake I choose. Because then you have all these ones right here that have a different kind of shake. And I think it's just intensity. Like, so this top one is really slight. And then this bottom one is just like a big bomb going off, which I usually only save for, like like the big stomp or something like that in a
Right.
video. So for instance, I'll use it here. And the most important thing, I knew a creator who he finally figured out that what he was doing wrong for this, but he would always put his shake below his characters over here. So what would end up happening is the shake would go, because this effect affects everything under it. So this is on top of this video, you see here. It is not currently on top of this tiny guy. It'll take a second to render what's going on, but it would look like this. Let's say for instance he was still there, right? So
Yeah.
everything will shake, but the tiny guy, and he's still out there on top of the footage, right?
Yeah.
So like if there's like a giant woman like approaching, then the guy, like the screen would shake and the people would stay stationary, which that doesn't make sense, right? So you put that on top of everything, and then your result is a little different. See, he'll shake with the screen.
Yeah.
But he's getting stepped on there, so he doesn't need to shake along with the screen.
Right. I see what you mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's something that you only find out trial and error type of thing, unless somebody taught you it.
Yeah, it is very trial and error. It's just I think I got lucky when I first used it, and it just always exported. It always put itself up at the top here, so I never really had that issue. And then when I saw someone else having that problem, I'm like, well, what the hell? I'm like, are you using Motion Bro? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what the hell are you doing wrong, dude? And I went back and checked out and messed around with it some. And I'm like, oh, this is what you're doing wrong. Like, you should just fix that. It shouldn't be that. See? And you get the little shake with it, and it kind of adds something. And what's kind of cool is I recently put up a preview of my video I'm making with Gianna, where unless I'm like physically there directing someone, it's kind of imperative. Like if you do like a thing where they're putting someone down with their fingertips and then immediately stepping on them, it's pretty important they step on where they put that person down at, because if the person's not animated, they're not moving to the spot where they're getting stepped on at. And unfortunately, she put her fingers down and like tells the little guy, like, don't move. And then she stomps him with her heel, but she did it like 3 inches to the right. Oh. So I'm like, shit, like, do I just have like a keyframe of this guy like slowly moving towards where her foot goes down? And I did that, and I'm like, well, he's just sitting there on his knees and he's just floating over that. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And so I kept him where, so what I did is I kept him right where he was and just did this exact intensity and duration. And when she slams her heel down, it's like immediate. So you wouldn't even notice that she didn't slam her heel down in the exact same spot. It's just implied. So I just found a workaround using this thing.
Yeah.
So it can add a nice little effect, and it can also mask some stuff that you wouldn't really need to mask otherwise. Like I never would have thought I would have to do that with a clip. I never thought that would work that way. And I'm like, well, what if I did that? Would that look fine? So it's like having tools in your toolbox and using every tool is a screwdriver, or every tool. No, every tool is a hammer. Every tool is a hammer. That's what it is.
Every tool is a hammer. I like it.
Every tool is a hammer, and I was right, and it just worked. Cool. So that's
awesome.
how mistakes will go. I'll leave that in there. I like it. Just because it starts rendering kind of weird, I can turn it off when I go through previews again. But what I'll do here, I'll go back to my blood effects, and I'll have, I guess we'll use this one. Why not? And I can stretch this and make it into a smear. So again, you figure how much blood is in this tiny dude's body. Let's say that much. Why not? If it's his entire body being pulped, that much. Sure. Flatten it out. Rotate it in the direction of the smear. Probably stretch it a little bit. Flatten it out one more time. Boom, and I'll put it like right there. So then when she does the smear, I usually will work backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
But like it'll slowly appear as she drags her foot away.
Gotcha.
And I might just make it a little longer just to be morbid about it.
Morbid about it.
And this starts to become the part where it's like a little frustrating, just because you have to like really, especially with how my camera that I shot with this day works. You'll notice like everything back here is blurry, but like this specific area is not. I forget what it is with cameras that does that, but it has something to do with the way the lens that you have attached works and focuses.
Yeah.
So I need that, but you don't have the. It's not just a normal camera. It's like for close-up shots, which works really well for foot photography. But when you're filming stuff, little less desirable. But it works so well for close-up shots and like stills.
What camera do you use?
I use when I'm in Florida, I use a Canon T6, and then when I'm here in Georgia, I have a selection of like 3 different cameras that I won't remember the names of off the top of my head right now. But they're out sitting in the living room in a bag. So what I'm going to try to do here is hopefully I usually will work backwards on these. Give me a mask that I can see. I'll work a little backwards on these to kind of get it where I need it to be. So like I'll start like right here, and this will be the finished frame for when the full thing comes into view.
Yeah.
Open up the mask path. I'll put it on for like that'll be like the first frame that the full blood stain is shown, and I'll add a couple extra points just so I can manipulate it a little. Oh, whoops. Just so I can manipulate it a little better. I can have different edges on it and can like make it match the shape of a flip-flop. There's a whole little like ways to do this stuff. It's a lot of fun sometimes. So now that I have the mask path figured out, I want it. Come on. Give me the thing I want. There we go. Cool.
It's such like a small detail, but like you gotta like really just gotta hone in on it and really like get it perfect.
Well, that way it looks like it wasn't made in a Photoshop program or or in a special effects lab, like it has to look like I want it to look real. I want it to look believable. I want it to look like, damn, she just killed those guys. Like she just murdered those little dudes. That's what I want it to look like. And what I'm doing here is I'm just matching the mask to the shape of her flip flop. And I just started using this mask feather option on here, which is pretty cool. What it does is I'm going to explain it how I think it works. It'll like add like just like a small little layer of like fuzz, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not explaining what mask feathering does right at all, but what it basically does is it'll add like a little extra something to the edges of your mask, so it'll kind of let it breathe a little bit. That's the
Yeah.
best way I can think of explaining it currently. And if I'm wrong, someone can tell me.
No, it sounds like it makes sense what you're saying, because like being able to actually watch what you're doing, like you can see what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking
It
about just by watching the
like
screen.
it's kind of, I can think of it as like training wheels almost. Like it kind of just helps you along with what you're trying to get done. It
Hmm.
like kind of hides a mistake. So if I were to take the mask away, and as she drags her flip flop back, you get a little that.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. And what I'll do is I'll sometimes add like a little bit of opacity. I'll take away a little opacity from it and just kind of make it
That's what
look like
yeah.
it's on the floor.
Right.
What I might start doing is like a little more practical effects for stuff like this, and maybe have like a little packet of. I've already thought about how I might do this. Like have a little like packet of like food coloring, um, that someone can step on, or like a not a cherry tomato because you'll know, but something very red and that can pop. And then like I'll have the scene where they like stomp their foot on an area, and then I'll have a separate scene of them like lifting their foot up or wiping it away, like a different angle, so I don't have to edit in blood later. Um,
Um,
so it's like it can be on their foot and it can also be on the floor, but it's practical effects instead of
right.
having to put it in here. And sometimes I've had to do blood stains on the bottom of someone's foot, and if I'm not directing them, they'll move their foot around too much, and I have to like animate this blood stain around for like a minute, and like how it like contours like someone's like wrinkles on their foot. It is difficult and it takes up a lot of time. So practical effects might just be the way to go. And also you can kind of see, like I was talking about earlier with my camera, it'll keep this area in focus, but like everything here will start to kind of blur as it gets further away.
Yeah.
So I might add a very, very small amount of blur onto this blood right here. So
Yeah.
I have usually what I do for that is the camera lens blur effect in After Effects, and I'll increase it by intervals of 10 or 5 just to see like how extreme it gets. Because like if, for instance, if I went up to 50, shit, that might work. But if I went up to like 100 or something, like it just kind of, it's unrecognizable.
Yeah.
But 50, it also kind of eliminates some edge to the original blood stain, because you can kind of tell it's like, made on a computer. But if
Yeah.
you do something like that, it not only does it kind of fit,
Just a little miller. Yeah.
yeah, it just kind of sits there a little better. And then I can mess with the opacity again, bring that down, and it looks like it's on the floor. It's like when I'm zoomed in on it like this, it's easier to tell what it is I'm working with. But when I zoom out, when you like see like the actual product and the fact that most people are going to be watching this on their phones, that's when I start like not to say I'm being lazy with it, but to start be like, okay, well, how is this media going to be consumed? How are
Right.
people actually view this? They're not watching this on a big TV screen, so they're not going to be able to like go up close to their TV, or like they won't like notice that there's like small inconsistencies and stuff,
Right.
other creators will notice it, probably um, more so than like the average consumer or a guy that ordered a custom. But
Right.
it also, people know the quality of my work, and that's why people will come to me for commissions and whatnot. And they'll, I mean, shit, my Instagram is my portfolio, essentially. And some stuff on there has blood stains, and if they want, it's like basically saying like I can also do this. And if they like what it looks like on their Instagram feed, then that's what they'll receive. I just have to like kind of keep in mind the, like I said, like how are they viewing it? How are they going to be consuming that product later?
Is there a way for you to find that kind of information out?
Like if they're viewing it on a phone versus a
Mhm.
tablet versus a desktop,
Yeah.
no. Um, not as far as I'm aware. Uh, Instagram will tell you how many times you like your stuff has been interacted with. Like, does Mama Goods have her account set up as a business profile on Instagram?
Yes.
Um, ask her what ask her to look at those insights. Like, it's actually really cool. It breaks down into this whole. If you haven't looked yet, it like will break down um how many people like looked at it, how many people liked it, how many people saved it, how many people commented, of course, like very basic stuff like that. But it'll also show you like the demographic, like where like most of your fans are from, which is kind of neat, I think. I
Yeah.
have fans from, at this point I have people from all the way from like, Japan to um, I have people like from Iraq following my page, people in the UK, people in Canada, South America. It is kind of crazy how many like the actual like outreach just making Giantess edits has gotten me.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's awesome.
that's probably my favorite thing about this is the people I've met. That is probably my, aside from like what I said earlier about like the honesty with myself thing, being able to connect with people from every different walk of life and then like countless different countries. That is the coolest shit to me. From like Gianna being in, man, I don't somewhere in Europe. I'm not gonna say where, but somewhere in Europe. That's crazy to me. I'm friends with, if you've seen Salome Toes before, she's in Japan, I believe, and speaks like three or four different languages. Um, Becoming friends with people in the UK, like Cam 96. Her and I are buddy buddy. Um, it's just wild, like being able to meet people, not even just talk about feet, just talk about life and what the fuck they're up to and what they're doing in
Yeah.
their life. I mean, shit, I met probably my fucking life partner off of doing shit like this. Like that's crazy to me.
That's
That
truly amazing for sure.
it's a blessing. It really is, and the fact that I'm into it too, like it's fun. Yeah, I can say it over and over again, but it just brings like a new avenue to interact with people that I've known for years and years and years. So
No,
if we were to
absolutely.
see the full product, if this part renders fine, there we go. All right,
Right.
the full thing.
Ooh. Ooh.
See, it's clean. It's clean.
That is. That
It's a
was
lot of fun.
awesome.
And then
That was
boom, I have two clips that people can check out eventually. So that's
just like that.
just like that. Boom, I got two, and that's how I do what I do.
Yeah,
That's the
man.
cool part about it, man. This is thank you, thank you.
That's awesome, man. So where would people be able to find these clips to enjoy?
Oh man, I see you already got my like my Instagram and my Twitter up right there. Um, I'm a lot. I try to be a lot more active on Twitter lately. I have a lot of exclusive clips up over on Twitter. Instagram is good. Those, so check those ones out. Check out my link trees. I have a Deviant art page. I'm working on some clip stores right now. Uh, of course, check out my Patreon for the longer stuff and the exclusive content, behind the scenes shoots, just raw photos and stuff like that. That Yeah, I just have the basic stuff, man. I don't have a lot, but I try to post every other day, if not every day.
Man, hell yeah, man. Yeah, follow all his IG and Twitter. And you guys go and look those up. And then what about the Patreon? Is the Patreon pretty active?
The Patreon, I mean, from the last 2 months, like nothing was uploaded in June and July. There are some new fun clips on Patreon lately. I have a video dropping with Gianna, GG Golden Souls, dropping this weekend, either tomorrow or Saturday. So either Friday or Saturday. Just got like a couple extra little things to finish up on that. And what I'm trying to do is I'm redoing how I am going to post on there. There'll probably be a post every Monday and Friday, and then like one really long clip every month. That is the plan going forward. This is the first time I'm actually able to like verbalize it and put it out into the world. But that is how I plan to do things. I have two tiers, a $10 tier and a $20 tier. 20 gets you all access. $10 is like you get some extra short clips and work in progress stuff. But I've been pretty gracious lately on there, or people have been gracious to me, I should say. So I decided to return the favor and upload some clips, some longer clips that I would save for the top tier into the lower tier, just because like I've been gone for so long and people stayed on there. They deserve to see the goods.
Absolutely, man. They most definitely do, and I know they'll appreciate that. And man, you got a lot coming ahead of you too. You know, with the tour coming up and everything. So,
Yep.
you know, I know you're gonna do what you got to do to keep the Giantess squad happy, and then also I know it's gonna be a real busy times for you during this fourth quarter of the year with the tour and everything.
Oh yeah, I mean this one coming up in September is only 2 weeks long. Then I'll be back to make more content. We don't leave again until Halloween time, but who knows what's happening? The album comes out in less than a week.
What?
Comes out September 2nd. So if you're in tune to metal music, you'll hear about us. I'll neither confirm nor deny if you guess it right. Those that know, and those that don't know, that's fine.
If you know, you know.
If you don't, you don't, and that's okay. But you'll know eventually.
Man, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you, Micro Merchant, or Dan, excuse me, Dan.
Either or.
Yeah, man. Thank you for, coming on a POF pod and sharing your skills with everybody and showing them how to use, I believe this is Adobe
This is
Premiere,
Adobe After Effects.
Adobe After Effects, and
Yep.
showing like the plugins and everything, because that's what a lot of where those effects come from, right? Like there's a lot of plugins that you can use.
Motion Bro is a plugin and it's free. That's the one that does all like the shakes and stuff. It can have some like cool transitions in there. Um, there's like a whole other half of this stuff with Premiere, but we can save that for another time if people would like to see that, and all like how the sound editing works, because that's also pretty fun, and how I compile clips together to make them into like longer full length films.
Yeah, man. Well, we definitely got to set that up, and man, I'm excited to be back too. Like I said, I haven't dropped a podcast in like 2 weeks, so I'm looking forward to have some new content on the channel, and looking forward to just making more connections. If you know anybody who you can recommend to the podcast, let's make it happen. If any of you listeners know anybody, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't get like man, shit. Violet should be visiting me within a month or so. Maybe I could have like a sit down episode with like me and one of the models that I shoot with a lot. I think that'd be cool.
Hell
If you're
yeah,
down.
man. Oh man, dude, I'm open to all ideas. Man.
Then they can
Forward.
have two screens. They can have toes and they can have the editing.
Oh, bro, we're on to something.
I got ideas. Could do a live edit,
Absolutely.
like film something and then edit it right away. That'd be crazy.
I'm with it, man. Let's make it happen.
Speed running, making Giantess edits.
Look, we already got the titles, man. Well, shoot, man. I'll go ahead and close this episode out. Don't go nowhere, Dan, and man, everybody listening and watching, right on for being here. Smash the like button, by the way, and subscribe to the
Smash the
channel.
like, subscribe,
Absolutely,
ring that
man.
bell.
Yeah, ring that bell icon so you get notified every time we drop a new episode. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Boom.